All right, it's 2:01, so let's call the meeting to order. Welcome. Item number 2 on the agenda is our roll call. Jared, roll call, please.
You're muted, Jared.
Hey, I'm off now. You'd think I've learned by now. John Black.
Here.
Honorable Bernard Bowling. Honorable John Logan Brent. Honorable Sean Crothers. Honorable Byron Chapman.
Here.
Honorable Beverly Chester Burton. I saw her on a minute ago. I guess she went off. Honorable Bill Deeriff.
Here, sir.
Mr. Brian Dixon. Honorable David Eaton. Mr. Kevin Beatty. Mr. Jeff O'Brien, I see him joining us now. Mr. Keith Griffey. Honorable Treva Hodges.
I don't think you have a quorum.
I know, I'm getting worried. Honorable Dan Ison.
Here.
Honorable Todd Pollock.
Here.
Andy Crouch, Mr. Andy Crouch.
Present.
Honorable John Riley.
Here.
Honorable Joe Robinson. Honorable Jerry Summers. Honorable Jim Travis. I see Jim there. Honorable David Vogel.
Here.
Well, we would have a quorum if Mitzi will join us as the quorum. So, Mitzi.
Hey, Jared, this is
Yes.
Jack Hoffman. I didn't hear my name
I'm
called.
sorry, I guess let's get through. Jack Kaufman.
Yes.
So
I'm here.
With Mitzi, we have a quorum.
Hey, Jared.
Okay.
We have a quorum.
And I see Honorable Sean Crothers has joined us as well.
Yes.
Okay, we do have a quorum. If good, let's move on in on item number 3. That's the welcome. As we know, we've done this before. We're getting to be old pros, but just make sure any background noise or mute your screen. It kind of makes it easier for the rest of us. But other than that, let's move forward. First, item number 4 is the minutes for the last meeting. Need a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
And one other thing, when you make the motion in a second, for our benefit here for the records for the minutes, please state your name when you make your motion or the second. Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve, Bill Deeriff.
Second.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any additions or corrections to those minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, thank you. Minutes are approved. Item number 5 is the April financial statements. I'm going to refer to Mr. Tom Pope. Tom, you're on.
Mike, Tom. Tom, you're muted.
Tom?
Thank you. People try to do that to me to get me to mute all the time. I don't do that.
I can see why your wife does that now. Go ahead.
That's right. Okay. That mask has a gag behind it when I wear it. So, okay, got the April financial report, and we're reflecting. We've got some proposed budget revisions later in the meeting, and these budgets reflected those increases. So this shows what of the new money we spent as of April 30th, and as you can see, it shows that we're in pretty good shape on everything. On the first page is the summary of elements grouped by division, and then following is the agency-wide revenue and expenditures. And again, it's showing that we're in good shape on everything, with the last part of the report being the balance sheet. So I'll be glad to answer any questions anyone might have.
Any questions, Tom? Hearing none, I need someone to make a motion and state your name, please.
So moved, Andy Crouch.
In a second, state your name.
Jim Travis, second.
All right, any questions, comments? If not, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed, like sound? Hearing none, motion does carry. Okay, let's move on to item number 6 then. That being the agency operation response to COVID-19. Jerry, you're up.
I just wanted to give an update on where we currently stand as far as bringing staff back to the office. Last month, I reported that on March 6th, KIPDA implemented temporary telework arrangements. So everybody that was deemed non-essential to either continuing day-to-day operations for basic operations of the agency or the continuation of social services delivery began working remotely. That left about a dozen staff members on site. On May 11th, we issued a memo with a phased-in return to the office plan. That began on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, May 26th, where division directors and managers returned to the office. On June 8th, we are going to begin rotating all staff back in the office at no more than a 50% census in each division. We are remaining closed to outside visitors at this time, and we have implemented a health station when you first walk in with a temperature check and the checklist to make sure that you don't have any of the COVID symptoms before you can enter the building. And we've also increased our sanitation efforts across the agency as far as sanitary stations with the PPE. And with that, I want to thank Judge Summers and Jim Urban from Oldham County for assisting us with obtaining some of that PPE. So at this point, we'll just continue waiting on guidance from the governor for when we will implement a full return to the office from all staff. So that concludes my report. Any questions?
Thanks, Jared. Any questions, Jerry? Just keep moving forward. That's the main thing, I believe. Okay, item number 7. Now, this is what Tom talked to earlier, the fiscal year 2020 agency-wide budget amendment. Tom, you want to address us with that? Item 7.
Appreciate it. Last month, you approved a budget revision, and I indicated getting back in touch with you because of some additional funds we've received from the state, some COVID and CARES money. And the budget that's before you now includes those funds. We got over $564,000 of COVID funds and over $1.9 million of CARES funds that have been added to the budget for our basic social service programs. In addition to that, we have another $250,000 of CARES funds that are going into, or COVID, I believe, going into our IPA program. So you'll see on this budget that we've got some pretty significant surpluses, and much of that surplus is available to carry over. The COVID and CARES funds, those funds are available through September of 2021, excuse me. And then we had some other already big surpluses that we reported on last month's budget. We had purchase of vans that we put on hold, and those funds are available for carry forward as well if the Vanpool activities increase and warrant us to utilize those funds. So basically, like I said, this is the budget that was approved last month with these increases in the COVID and CARES funds, and then the related expenses for utilization of those funds. I'll be glad to answer any questions anyone might have.
Okay, good deal. Thank you, Tom. Any question? If not, I do need a motion to state your name to accept this requested amendment.
Judge Vogel.
Judge Vogel, thank you. Second?
Todd Pollock, second.
Thank you. Any questions, any comments to Tom? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed, like sound? Tom, that budget amendment was passed. I think you are here for number 8 as well, is the fiscal year 2021 legal services.
Thank you. We've been in communication with Mitzi, with White, Tarrant and Combs about the hourly rate for services provided by the firm for the year ending June of 21. And she's agreed to operate under the same rates I believe have been in effect for about 3 years already. It would be $190 per hour. And as I said, it's a continuation of what they've been doing for several years. So we request approval to continue with Whitehall at the rate of 190 per hour.
Okay, thank you. Any questions before we get the motion? I do need a motion in if you want to approve this continuation with our legal service. Motion, state your name.
Jim Gross makes a motion.
Second.
Bill Dariff, second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any questions? If not, we'll call for a vote. All in favor of continuing then moving forward for another year, we'll say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Item number 9, Regional Transportation Council, Amanda Spencer. Good afternoon, Amanda.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Thank you. The Regional Transportation Council met earlier today by video. We did have some very frustrating technical difficulties, but we overcame those. During the R2C meeting, the committee reviewed its bylaws and agreed to revise the language about meeting frequency. The revised bylaws relax the number of meetings from bi-monthly to at least quarterly, which is the requirement of the agreement between KIPDA and the funding agency KYTC. This change was prompted by the coronavirus pandemic and will ensure that we meet the requirements of our agreement with KYTC. The RTC also decided to remove language that required strict adherence to Robert's Rules of Order. And KIPDA staff updated the group on our Coordinated Human Services Transportation Plan, and I'll provide a similar report to you on that plan as part of my division report here in a moment. Counties also shared, as they always do, transportation updates. Our next meeting will be in July, and that will be by way of local meetings where we'll begin to discuss the new highway plan. That's all I have in this report. I'd be glad to take any questions and do ask for your approval.
Any questions, Amanda, before we accept the report? Need a motion to accept this report?
I make a
Todd
motion,
Pollock.
Beverly.
A motion, got a motion, you got a second?
Second, Beverly.
Beverly, thank you. There wasn't any comments in there, was it? That was just motions? No comments? All in favor, accept this report from Amanda, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Amanda, the report was accepted. I think you stay with us now for the Transportation Division update, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So I have 3 or 4 things here for you. Friday, tomorrow, is the deadline to apply for federal funds dedicated to the MPO area. At this time, there's about $25 million available in STBG and TAP funding combined. And staff will review all those applications that we receive and make a recommendation for project awards to our technical and policy committees in July. As of yesterday, vying for that $25 million, we had 26 applications for STBG funds totaling $29.1 million and 6 applications for TAP funds totaling $6 million. Next up, in February, I bragged to this group about our new planning documents, our long-range plan connecting Kentucky and 2040 and our short-range plan, the TIP. And we're now working on our first amendment to those documents. And there were 8 projects, 5 new projects and 3 revised projects that were presented to be considered as part of Amendment 1. The interagency consultation group has met to review those projects, and the formal air quality analysis period is coming to an end. We'll hold a public comment period later in June between the 12th and 26th. Staff plans to request committee approval in July, and we then expect federal review and approval in September. Sponsors can propose revised or new projects for Amendment 2 to these documents. You can do that now and through the end of July 31st. Next, I mentioned our Coordinated Human Services Transportation Plan, and this plan is required by federal legislation, and it provides guidance for the use of Federal Transit Administration Section 5310 funds, which serve seniors and individuals with disabilities. And to guide our planning effort, transportation users and providers are encouraged to complete a survey by June 17th. Then we'll have public meetings later this summer, and we plan to seek MPO committee approval for that plan by the end of the calendar year. You have in your meeting packet a one-page handout on the coordinated plan, and it includes links to those surveys. Last in April, I reported to you on the temporary reduction of Vanpools that we had seen due to teleworking given the coronavirus. With some of the reopening and relaxing of restrictions this month, we do have 2 Vanpools that we're working with to come back online beginning June 1st. That's going to put us at 15. And of course, as long as things continue to go well, we expect that to continue to rise. I'd be glad to take any questions, and board action is requested on my report.
Any questions? Motion to accept the report.
Todd Pollock, motion to accept.
Thank you. Second.
Crouch, second.
All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate it. See you next month then. Okay, item number 11, Division of Social Service Fiscal Year 2020 Contracts. Jessica Elkin. Jessica, welcome.
Hi, thank you for, thank you, Mayor Chapman. So item number 11 on the agenda is for the ratification. If you recall, in April, we asked that you allow the executive committee to review our distribution of COVID-19 and CARES funding. They did approve this funding, and Jarrett did sign off as the executive director to adjust these contracts. So we're asking for approval to ratify that decision. In this particular one, I can take it all together, but we will need abstention from those of you that are affiliated with Tri-County and Multipurpose. And I'm willing to take any questions you have as well.
Okay. Any questions?
Motion to approve, Bill Dare.
Second.
Second, Sean Carruthers.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Who needs to abstain? If you could state your name, please.
John Riley, Spencer County.
Jim Travis.
Judge Vogel.
Judge Ison.
Okay, we have the motion, and have the second, and those that abstain. All in favor say aye.
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 Right. Motion does carry. Item number 12, Fiscal Year 2020 Division of Social Services. Jessica.
Hi, thank you again. So again, this was presented in April for the executive committee to be allowed to review, and our executive director to sign our contract revisions for the Title III and Title VII for CARES funding, and for our ADRC contract modification for CARES funding. I can take both of these together as well. Those were approved by the executive committee and signed by our executive director. So that's our Title III, Title VII, and our ADRC FY20 contracts.
Okay. Motion.
Jessica, could you just speak a little bit on what the Title III and Title VII are, the programs are, so the board members will be aware?
Sure. So our Title III and Title VII contracts are for our elder abuse and long-term care services. Our Title III contracts are for our 3B, 3C, 3E revisions. So that's all of our supportive services, our meals, our senior centers, our transportation, elder abuse. I'm leaving one out, Lynn. I think I listed them well. Caregiver, sorry, National Family Caregiver, thank you. Basically all of our aging programs under the Department for Aging and Independent Living, those contracts were modified based on CARES funding. And then our ADRC was separate from that. We received $45,000 to use. And all of those particular funding sources are not just for this fiscal year. They run through September 30th of 2021. So we'll not only modify this year's contracts, but funding not used will carry over into the next fiscal year and even the next one if necessary. Does that help? I hope. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, I do need a motion then to approve the Division of Social Services business.
I make a motion, Beverly.
Beverly, second.
Second, Judge Ison.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any questions? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion does carry. Moving on then, item number 13, the status of.
Mayor Chapman?
Yes, ma'am.
I apologize for interrupting. We've been running a little bit faster this week than our little legs can carry us, so a couple other things have come up. And you will receive, with your permission, I'd like to present a potential home care procurement schedule. Naturally, in normal environments, we would present to you, we are procuring for home care services. In this particular meeting, we would present to you our recommendations for approval. However, due to the situation we are in, we've had to adjust that schedule, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit and ask for approval of that.
All right, please do then.
So because of the unique situation during the season, we have adjusted our procurement process, and we will not be able to present until after June 10th, which is our advisory council. So we are finishing up our review and evaluation of home care services. We will present that to the advisory council and the funding committee on June 10th. We would like permission to then immediately after that approval to present it to the executive committee for approval and for Jarrett's signature after that approval of our executive director's signature. Then we will then present obviously to the full board in June, all of those unit rates and services and providers. So I'm asking for approval and permission to walk through that process for approval.
And you will need the executive committee to sign off on that due to time constraints, I assume.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, very quiet. So I need a motion then to approve this request. Do I have a motion?
Motion, Judge Vogel.
Judge, thank you. Second?
Second, Bill Dare.
Bill Dare. All right, if there's any other questions? Not all in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? We're still on the in favor, right?
Say that again.
I may have jumped the gun there. All in favor, aye. Let's do this again. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, good deal.
And
All
one
opposed.
more.
Excuse me.
One more thing. I swear this week has been
I-
busy.
Now this is it. This is it now. You know, one more time.
If
Go
I
ahead.
could slow it down, Mayor Chapman, I surely would.
Go ahead. Aye.
And this just happened this week. If you recall, I believe in November, and we've been working on this program since July of last year, to sign a contract with PCHP, which is an intermediary between Anthem and us. So along with KCAT and other AAAs, we had been working on signing a joint contract with Anthem to provide services to individuals of all ages who were at risk of returning to hospital care or had significant risks to their health, community needs. We are going to be care coordinators. We intended for that to be in process and signed in December. However, due to the Medicaid situation that sent the Medicaid RFP out for bids again, Anthem did not get contracted at that point. They have been now. So they are now an approved Kentucky Medicaid provider again. Jarrett did sign the contract for KIPDA as a AAA to provide that care coordination services. We were just in our training this morning, so we literally signed it this week. Started our training today and tomorrow, and we're hoping to move forward with that on June 1st. It is a tremendous step in allowing us to build relationships with MCOs and showing what we can do here as providers. So we're very, very thankful to have that, and I just wanted you all to know you'd already approved the signing of it, but it did take some time, and I wanted you to know that we were moving ahead with it.
No,
Jessica, who all won the contract statewide? Anthem, Passport, who was it, you know?
Anthem, Passport, I don't know the other two, to tell you the truth. I'd have to look at it. Yes.
You want to get that for us then and respond to Bill?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, good deal. Any other questions, Jessica?
No, that's all that I have, and I appreciate your patience with us today.
Okay, all righty. Thank you, Jessica. Item number 13, the status of a meal service to older adults. So Sue Johnson's on board. Sue?
Good afternoon. I've been tasked with reporting to you what the meal program has done and been through in the last 6 or 8 weeks. So a short synopsis is that we served 40% more meals this past April. That's the month for which we have the most complete data, as opposed to April of 2019. So that's pretty impressive since we only started gearing up to do that in mid-March. There is one shining star in the group of providers who really outperformed all the others. So I feel compelled to give them the shout out. And that would be Tri-County Community Action Agency, because they actually served 172% more meals in April 2020 than they did in 2019. So those folks have gone above and beyond. Multi-Purpose Community Action Agency served 33% more, and Metro came in right around 21%. So in addition to all these more meals, there was a retooling that was necessary for our 2 meal providers. So that would be Masterson's and the kitchenette, the kosher kitchenette, the Jewish Community Center. So between March 13th and March 16th, so that's one weekend, they retooled their complete operation from hot meal operation to frozen meal operation. No small task. Partly we were helped by the state, who relaxed the menu requirements, making it a little bit easier for us to make that conversion. Because, like, you know, spinach salad can't be frozen, coleslaw can't be frozen. So in addition to retooling the type of meal, they also had to revamp the entire menu system. And they did that in 2 days. It was really nothing short of phenomenal. We also got permission from the state, thanks to Jarrett and Jessica, to do what we called the drive-by pickup for congregate meals, because at that point, if you remember, the governor closed all the senior centers. And so the nutrition sites closed right along with them, which meant that vulnerable seniors who normally come to a site, eat with their buddies, play bingo, cards, that kind of thing, couldn't do that anymore. So the frozen meals were sort of dropped off at individual sites, and folks came in their car, and if you were a client, we gave you a box of meals. If you weren't a client, we signed you up on the spot to make sure that you could get something to eat. We also knew that somewhere in there were clients who got a ride to the senior center because they no longer drive. There are a large number of them for whatever reason. And so we knew they'd have a little bit of trouble getting to those drive-by meal pickup sites. And lo and behold, along comes our transportation provider, Louisville Wheels, who said, can we help you? And we said, sure, we'd love you to help us. So they did a phenomenal job. And by the 18th, so 2 short days, they started delivering meals to clients who normally would have gotten a ride to the nutrition site or the senior center. So that helped a big bunch. And we could make sure that all of our usual clients, our typical clients, were covered by the service. But we started to get an enormous number of calls for people who said, I can't get to one of those drive-bys. So that business with Wheels grew and grew and grew, and it operates still until today. What we did with the home delivered meal clients was to do what we called, now is called touchless. But then we called, just a drop on the porch. And so we had to call each and every one of those clients. There are just shy of 1,000 of them, and let them know what this service would be like, right? So they wouldn't freak out that somebody was not going to come into their house. That would not have been safe for the people delivering or for the seniors themselves. So we informed them about that. Plus we had to let them know that a whole lot of the volunteers were too scared to deliver. And so staff had to step up because getting people through the court process of criminal background checks were very, very slow in the beginning. But the clients took it in stride, and everybody seems to be doing well, and they're all still receiving their meals that way, sort of touchless, which I think has become a phenomenon. So they're really accepting it a whole big bunch now. You need to know also that because there was such an abrupt closing of the senior centers, providers called another 2,000 clients to let them know that the senior center would be closed and how they could access the drive-by site, how they could register for it, what to do if they didn't have access to a car, that sort of thing. So staff or contractors really have been very impressive to us. They have done, they've gone over and above. I also should give a shout out to some additional programs that are going on for which KIPDA funding is not being used. One of them was the program that went on for 14 serving days in Louisville Metro that I think probably everybody saw in the news and on the paper, in the CJ. We did end up funding a small portion of that program, but now Metro operates another program for 150 at-risk clients, and they continue to do that. Judge Summers has operated since the very first week of this, that would be March 16th, a feeding program for 500 seniors a week. He continues to do that to this day. There's a loose partnership with a very large church in Simpsonville and Multipurpose Community Center, and they're doing a huge outreach also for seniors, and that program continues to go on, but it had a little bit later startup. Ashburn Farms has been serving 700 seniors weekly in the Tri-County area. That would be Trimble, Henry, and Oldham, if you're not familiar. They started probably that last week of March. They picked up the phone, called Brenda Fox and said, can we help you? How can we help you? This is what we'd like to do. So they've been doing that since late March, and Tri-County Community Action applied for and received a grant through the National Meals on Wheels program, where they got, I think it was somewhere right around $10,000 or $15,000 so they could buy pantry items for seniors, because that's it's one thing if you can't get to the grocery store just to buy fruits and vegetables and meat and milk and that sort of thing, but they also couldn't get to the grocery store to buy toilet paper, toothpaste, that sort of thing. So Brenda is able to provide those kinds of things also through this secondary grant from the Meals on Wheels Association of America. You had to be a member in order to apply for that, and KIPDA declined to apply so that places like Tri-County would have a better chance of getting funded. And our strategy worked really, really well. And that's based, we're on track this month to serve another 6% more in the month of May than we did in April. So we continue to add clients, we continue to serve more clients, and we've not been notified of when the senior centers will, or the nutrition sites will be allowed to open. Anybody have questions?
Any questions? Well, thanks for your report, Ms. Johnson, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Item number 14, Kentucky Health.
Chairperson, I do have a question.
Oh, sure.
On the increased numbers that we're seeing, is this people that maybe they just found out about the program, or how are we getting new people?
Well, I think there are lots of people who are doing outreach efforts, right? We're getting also calls from Humana care managers, Anthem care managers. I've had many conversations with nurses who are of a higher level, like vice presidents and nurse managers from Norton, Baptist, U of L. How do we refer people? How can you help people? Their focus was on people who were being discharged from the hospital, some of them with COVID. And that became a little bit of a thing because not everybody wanted to be able to deliver to them. So we had to develop a special system for people who were discharged home who were maybe still COVID positive, maybe not, but they no longer required hospitalization. So outreach, referrals are coming from everybody all over the place. Plus the governor did a lot to ensure that we got a lot of business. He promoted the meal program several times from his podium.
Good question, and it's kind of amazing, that kind of increase,
40% is a lot. They did amazing work.
Yeah. Okay, thanks again. All righty, now to item 14, Kentucky Health Benefits Exchange Update. Beth has got that. Beth Mathis?
Hello, everyone. So as you know, the governor beginning actually late March, but statewide, it really started April 1st, extended presumptive eligibility Medicaid to anybody in the state who had lost their health insurance as a result of COVID-19. Income limits were waived. A lot of the eligibility verifications were waived. And with this process, the presumptive eligibility, an individual was insured by the time we completed the application. We knew the status of their coverage. That coverage is for the month they applied and 2 months after. So those who applied in April, and there were upwards, at one point in early April, there were about 12,000 calls statewide. That has decreased significantly. I think the governor did a great job of getting the word out early, and everybody who needed this coverage really reached out to assist her statewide in April. We are still doing a lot of those applications, but not as many as we were doing early on. A lot of those folks who applied at the beginning in the month of April will be losing their benefits in June. So we're in the process now of trying to reach out to them if they are not returning to work, and what we're finding is many people who thought they would be returning June 1 will not be, to help them enroll in the regular traditional Medicaid application, which is a much lengthier process. There are income verifications, residency verifications, and that can take up to 30 days for those benefits to be enforced. So we are starting to see that as of right now, the last group who has applied, their benefits expire July the 31st. We don't know if presumptive eligibility will be extended beyond that date. At the last Kentucky Health Benefit Exchange stakeholder meeting, there was some discussion that the governor may sign an executive order to extend that coverage depending on how the COVID-19 crisis plays out going forward. There would have to be some guidance from the federal level before he would have the authorization to do that. But that is a potential that is being discussed, and I think I'll know more in June. We are also receiving lists daily from the state of folks who have applied for unemployment benefits. And we are reaching out to them about 1,000 per week currently. And we'll be doing that through the end of June, just contacting everyone by phone and letting them know if they are on unemployment and they've also lost their employer-sponsored health coverage, that they're eligible for this presumptive eligibility Medicaid, just to kind of catch those people who may have fallen through the cracks, who may not have heard the governor talk about it every day on his press conferences. I think he did a good job of getting the word out, but we are trying to catch any of those who we may have missed. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Any questions to Beth? Good job. Thanks, Beth. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item number 15, the COVID-19 Supplement EPA Awards for Partnership Planning Grants. Danielle, you're up.
Hello, afternoon.
Afternoon.
I actually have, it's agenda item number 15. You'll see two letters there. So the first one is related to the EDA funding. It's related to JFA. So I will discuss those separately. So first to the EDA. So this is related to the CARES Act. So through the CARES Act, the U.S. Department of Commerce and Economic Development Administration recently received a supplemental appropriation to prevent, prepare for, and respond to COVID-19. This includes necessary expenses for responding to economic injury as a result of COVID-19. As part of the EDA's CARES Act funding, Kentucky, through its Joint Funding Administration Program, has been invited to apply for a supplemental award to respond to the pandemic. The EDA has determined that through the JFA, as a result of its longstanding and ongoing partnership with the EDA, that it is in the public interest to make an award through the JFA on a non-competitive basis. The period of this performance is 24 months from the date of federal award. The EDA will fund the supplemental award at 100% federal grant rate with no matching funds being required. And it is for the amount of $392,000 for 2 years. So each of the ads will be submitting an individual application outlining the scope of work for this additional funding that will be submitted to DLG, and DLG will apply on behalf of all the ads for this funding. The scope of work included for this for the ads to undertake is the development of an economic recovery and resiliency plan tied to the ads comprehensive economic and development strategy, or our SEDS plan, and to address economic impacts of the coronavirus pandemic. Additionally, it will include the deployment of disaster recovery coordinators to orchestrate the region's response to the pandemic and provide technical assistance to local governments, businesses, and other stakeholders, as well as funding of appropriate technology and staff support for these pandemic response activities. The letter that you have in your packet is requesting approval for Executive Director Jarrett Haley and Board Chairman Mayor Chapman to sign the letter with the application that we submit to DLG, stating that the ad has reviewed and is ready, willing, and able to perform the scope of work, and that the ad will continue to adhere for the duration of the supplemental award to the insurances given by executing Form CD 511 in conjunction with the most recent JFA contract. So, requesting your permission to sign the letter to submit with the application.
All right, I need a motion then to, or any questions of
Yeah, any questions, of course.
Daniel?
I'll make that motion. Todd Pollock.
All right, Todd, can I have a second?
Second, Beverly.
Beverly, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of signing the letter moving forward, say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none. Thank you, Danielle. Now you've got one other letter, right?
Yes, yes, I do. So, and this is related to fiscal year 2021 JFA funding. And I'm requesting board approval for Board Chairman Mayor Chapman to sign a letter on behalf of the KIPDA Board of Directors, concurring with the Kentucky Association of District Directors with regard to the fiscal year 21 joint funding administration distribution. The letter is stating that we are aware and we will abide by the formula in House Bill 352 that allows the distribution of those, and that we also concur that 10% of those funds will be utilized to make up any shortfall in any other area development district to match federal funding. So it's just a letter stating that we will abide, and we are aware and will abide by that.
Okay. Questions? If not, I need a motion then to get the okay to sign this letter. Need a motion?
Motion to approve, Sean Carruthers.
And thank you. Second?
Your password, or if you've entered the wrong.
Say it again. Did I get a second there?
Second, Bill Dare.
Bill Duff. Okay. Any questions? Must have been some background noise. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Great. And I just have another little comment to make, just a note, about the CARES Act funding. It's been allotted to city and county governments, the $300 million. We are hoping to get some clarification on the guidance related to that and how that is going to be distributed and what is going to be allowed. Right now, there is some conflicting information floating around, so we're waiting to get that clarified. Actually, we have some calls scheduled with the ad directors and Commissioner Keene and Keiko to sort of flesh that out and get everybody on the same page. So once we have that figured out and once we can answer your questions, we'll be happy to get that information out to you and assist in any way we can.
Okay. Who would be the contact person? You?
Myself or Jarrett, either one.
Okay. All right, good.
Before we move on to the next item, because I don't think there probably aren't many people in the state that have a grasp on that like Mayor Deere. I don't know if you have anything you would like to share to the other board members.
Are you saying about the CARES Act?
Yes, sir.
Money. We're talking about money here.
Yeah. Sorry, I was sidetracked there. As many of you all know, we worked with the Leader McConnell to bring in the funding through the state. That funding was supposed to be 45% of all the monies that came to the state. Louisville got the $130-something million, and the balance was supposed to go to the cities. We reached back out to Leader McConnell to work with the governor to allot us a certain amount of money. That money became $300 million, which has been allotted to cities and counties. KLC and KEICO worked together on a product of how to divide the money. And the idea was cities had the population, counties had the health departments, and the jails needed the money, so that it was devised to divide it equally between cities and counties, with $550 million set aside for phase 2. At this point in time, the cities, KLC has divided among all the cities the 115 million, because part of their money was set aside for Lexington, part of the county money was set aside for Lexington, which left 115 million, was divided according to population. And each city has a certain amount allotted to them based on that. J-Town has $2 million, which can be used for various items. And I would recommend everybody get very creative. Don't go to the black area, stay in the gray area, but then very creative. Anywhere from our city attorney spends probably 80% of his time on the CARES Act. I myself usually spend about that every day. Or we have a lady that does educational ideas or on the internet, and that's her total job during this time frame, and that is for the kids that are home, and that can be used. Touchless faucets that you may want to put in your bathrooms, touchless doors. Many different items go beyond the mask, the gloves, that you normally hear for PPE and everything else. So research it. There is an economic development part of it, but we're also working with Senator McConnell on possible funds of this first round that they may be used for revenue replacement if Stimulus 5 does not go through. Stimulus 5 is a very, very, very friendly bill, to say the least. It brings in everybody in the world who needs money. So it's being cut back a little bit, so we're not sure where that's going to be. But if that does not flourish, we're asking Senator McConnell to make the first stimulus package, the balance of it possibly used for revenue replacement, but it does not have that now. The other thing we have had with Senator McConnell is if Stimulus 5 comes down, it will not go to the state for distribution to us cities and counties. It'll be distributed strictly to the cities and county directly from the federal government, so we don't have to wait on the allotment from the state. There's many other facets to this. Anybody has any questions or has any other parts to it, I don't want to carry on. This has been a project that we've been working on for about a month and a half and getting all the pieces and pods together, both the counties and cities. Hopefully everybody will be able to take some kind of advantage to replace some of the funds that they've not only expended because of the CARES Act, but some of the funds that they've replaced because they had to do a different way, different means of doing business. With that, Jared, anytime anybody wants to call me, morning, noon, and night, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mayor.
You know, if you don't know, of course, I think you see now, but what Mayor Derrick Bill's telling us there, he spent a lot of time, a lot of work for our behalf. So we do want to thank him for that. Thanks.
Hey, Mayor Deere, John Black here. You hear me? Okay. Mayor.
He's not.
Yeah, John. Yeah, John.
Did I understand you to say that cities across Kentucky have been allocated monies? Because if they have, I don't know any I've gotten or allocation for. So do you know how much the Grange gets?
I can look up here in just a second and tell you how much you got as a city.
Please let me know, because I haven't heard anything about it.
Now you are not, they do not give you the money. You have to request the money, but I can tell you what your allocation is in just a second, and I'll text it to you.
Well, tell me what it is, and I'll run it up to that allocation.
Well, now, John, I don't want to get too belabored on here. That is money that is only for CARES Act money. It can't be budgeted.
Oh, I understand, but
Okay.
I have not heard that we had any kind of allocation at this point. Maybe I just missed that.
Yeah, we first decided to work together as counties and cities to divide up the 300 million, and that's when we did 150, and set 50 aside, gave Lexington their dilly, and then the second part was to work with the governor on how it would be divided amongst the cities, and he agreed to do it on population. My comment to Governor was, you don't want this to be a SBA loan where everybody's running to the bank to try to get as much money as they can. So the first allotment to all the cities is based on population. If you don't use it, that's okay. It'll go back into the second phase 2, and that'll be sent out according to need. So, John, I will text you your amount here in the next few minutes.
Please do so.
Any other questions? Thanks once again, Bill. We appreciate all your hard work. Item number 16, May personnel report. Kelly?
Thank you. So we've just had one hire over the past month, and that's because she was a temp. She's been temping here since January 6th. Her name is Andrea Baldon, and she's been hired as our Medicaid billing clerk in the Division of Finance, which is for the Medicaid waiver program. She was hired effective May 18th. We luckily did not have any resignations. We still have permanent vacancies. To actually hired, they won't start until June, so I didn't want to put it in the report. But we've hired one part-time service advisor and one full-time transportation planner. We had interviewed these people prior to COVID-19, so we're going to get them started next month. So then we'll have one part-time service advisor, one full-time service advisor, another full-time transportation planner, and a full-time community outreach specialist to hire. We have opened that back up for advertisement and on Indeed, so we'll start interviewing via Zoom next week. Currently, our staff count is 7 full-time, 3 part-time permanent, and 5 full-time temporary. That concludes my report. Action is requested.
Okay, any questions for Kelly? If not, I need a motion to approve her report, personnel report.
John Riley will make that motion.
John, thank you. Second? Have a second for that report?
Keith
Griffey,
second.
Okay. All righty. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Your report is approved, Kelly. Okay, item number 17, the KIPDA business email compromise. Jennifer, would you bring us up to speed on this problem?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. On February 18th, we learned that a large number of emails were sent without authorization from a single staff email account. Initially, we launched an internal investigation to determine what had happened and eventually notified our insurance carrier, who engaged legal counsel and a digital forensics company to assist our investigation. On April 9th, it was established that unauthorized access occurred between January 29th and January 14th, and personal information of participants in the Medicaid waiver program may have been exposed. Since there was no way to know exactly what information was accessed, the entire email box was examined to find out what information was in each email, who may have been affected, and where those people resided. In total, 3,750 people were potentially affected. Not all names had all information, but possible exposed data points included protected health information such as name, address, birth date, diagnosis and treatment information, billing and procedure codes, and Medicaid number. Also, some, but not all names included Social Security number or driver's license number. At this time, we have no indication that any data has been inappropriately used by anyone. Upon discovering the incident, we immediately reset the user's password. In addition, we have or will be taking the following steps: increasing the frequency of password changes, adding two-factor authentication for remote access, training staff on procedures for saving sensitive data in a new secure data file, enhancing cyber training, in particular, increasing staff education on the risks associated with sharing PHI through email and how to use other more secure methods, developing and implementing policies and procedures to regularly and securely delete PHI from email and the network, updating our policies to require staff to immediately notify IT of any suspected security incidents. And finally, we're considering restricting access to our email servers to only those users located in the US. In addition, we are providing notice of this incident to appropriate federal and state regulators, including the US Department of Health and Human Services. Letters of notification have been or will be sent to all individuals affected in accordance with required deadlines. These letters encourage individuals to remain vigilant to the possibility of fraud and identity theft by monitoring account statements, EOBs, and free credit reports for any unauthorized activity, and to report any suspicious activity to local law enforcement and the state attorney general. In addition, any individuals whose Social Security number could have been exposed have been offered a complimentary 1-year membership in Experian's Identity Works, which provides detection and resolution of identity theft. We also will have a notice on the homepage of the website for 90 days for the very small number of individuals whose addresses could not be obtained. Lastly, an announcement will go out to the media by June 8th, along with the bulk of the notification letters and our statement to HHS. While the Executive Committee has been aware of this incident and our investigation for some time, this report is being made to notify the entire KIPDA board of these actions. And I would be happy to entertain any questions if anyone has.
Any questions, Jennifer? Hearing no questions. Okay, there's no action required here other than keep up the good work and stay on top of this and keep us informed as this moves forward, Jennifer.
Okay.
Okay, item number 18 is annual leave accrual. Jared, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. As you all are aware, the COVID pandemic has presented a lot of challenges to staff, which included the cancellation of trips or the postponement of trips, the inability to schedule trips. So we have had a policy where you are only able to carry over a certain number of hours at the end of the fiscal year, which ends June 30th. So the request was made to the executive committee if we could do a one-time policy revision, allowing for 5 additional carryover days from fiscal year 20 into fiscal year 21, and then any additional hours being rolled into the employee's sick leave. This was done just because we didn't want to penalize staff who are typically the people that are reaching that level are the dedicated staff who've been here long-term. So rather than penalize them, do a one-time policy revision. So again, this was approved by the executive committee earlier this month. We did it through executive committee rather than full board because time is obviously essential when you're looking about using your annual leave time. So I'm asking the board to ratify the executive committee's one-time policy revision of the accrual of annual hours to allow for 5 additional days of annual leave carry over into the next fiscal year.
John Riley, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it, Bill Barrett.
Motion second. Any questions of Jerry? Not all in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed, like sign? Hearing none, Jared, your motion did carry. Item number 19 is intergovernmental reviews. Jared tells me I think all A through D is good to go. Is that correct?
They are. I want to thank Judge Pollock and Jeff O'Brien for being so responsive to these intergoes, but they're ready to be taken. They can be all taken together.
Okay. Motion to approve all 4 intergovernmental reviews.
I make a motion.
Okay, that's Beverly. Second.
A second.
All right.
Any questions? If not, all in favor, aye? Aye.
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 Thank you. Item number 20 is Executive Director's Report. Jared, you're up again, sir.
First, I want to just thank everybody for, again, joining us. And I want to recognize, just for the record, Mr. Keith Griffey, Judge Summers, Mayor Beverly Chester Burton, Mayor Eenie, and Councilman Bowling, who have all joined the meeting, but were not on when we did the roll call. So for the record, I just want to be sure that it's noted that they were all in attendance. Second item is, with the updated agenda yesterday, I had sent out a conflict of interest form for the long-term care ombudsman program that I was going to discuss today. And thanks to Jessica reaching out to the state, we have received a waiver where you all are not required to fill out that form anymore. So please just disregard that email from yesterday. And then additionally, I want to recognize Robert Augustine, I see, has joined us from Senator Paul's office. Robert, if you have anything you would like to share, you're welcome to.
I would just say, as always, I appreciate the invitation to attend your meetings. It's good to get the information. Feel free to reach out to me if our office can help communicate with you guys through the federal government. And, so, you know, we're just kind of collecting the same issues that you guys are, the PPE and the small business loans and things of that nature. And if we can help an entity that you know try to navigate that, we'll get somebody to give you a call. But thank you.
Thank you, Robert. For next month's meetings, TPC is canceled. They will be a meeting. TPC and TTC are canceled for the month of June. They will both be convening again in July. So the only meeting next month will be the Board of Directors meeting again on the fourth Thursday at 2 o'clock. Meeting notices will be sent out with the calendar invitation and the meeting packet. And that concludes my report.
All right, thanks, Jerry. Any other business come before this board? Any comments come in, Jared?
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Okay, good deal. Item number 22 then, motion to adjourn.
Do you need a motion to approve the director's report?
No, sir.
Okay. I'll make that motion to adjourn.
You got it? How about a second?
Judge Joyson.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Everyone stay safe and stay well. See you next month.
Have a
See
good
you
one.
next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.